This is a strangely relevant book to my life. I'm talking about chapter 8 of The Seven Who Were Hanged by Leonid Andreev. And I talked about in an earlier chapter about how there's the ticking of the clock, and how, at least with some of the how that kind of affects the inmates, and how I deeply identified with the people who would be like tortured out of their mind by this, because I have a hatred for clocks ticking in the middle of the night. It just drives me insane, and I will go up and stop those clocks if I am trapped in a house, such a house. And now in chapter 8, we are with Sergei Golovin. And Sergei Golovin is a young man, and he's a young, healthy man. He is maybe seems to be the most physical, the most kind of just present in his body kind of dude. And strangely enough, a lot of I before doing my reads, I did all my exercises. I have exercises given to me by Dr. Stephanie Black. She gives me exercises. She is a chiropractor, chiropractor, I think, whatever. But she gives me exercises to help me with my back. I have a bit of a scoliosis. I have a just weakness in my back. I go into spasms sometimes. But she's given me exercises to do, and I do these exercises faithfully every day. And it gives me it's body muscles, strengthening the muscles in my back. I also have a different set of exercises which are kind of stretches to kind of help me kind of maybe tilt, to combat the tilt in my body. So between the two, I have a good bit of exercises, and I end up before I do I'm bare chested while I do these exercises, because they make me sweat so much, and I have to put my shirt back on to then do the reading. So coming into this, I was sweaty, and I had done all my exercises, and then I read about Sergei Golovin, and Sergei Golovin at least starts out this chapter like saying like, well, I like to do everything well. I like he's a good shot. The only thing he can't do well is sing, which he only sings out of tune, but he thinks he's a great singer. I don't think I'm a great singer, but he thinks he's a great singer, and everyone tells him, no, you're not a great singer. It's like, well, either you're all asses or I am. It's like, well, you sound like a donkey, so I guess you're the ass. But he's like, okay, he's sad for a little bit. They're like, oh, we didn't actually successfully carry out our terrorist attack. He's sad for a couple of days, but then he thinks, no, I can die well now. And he starts out by like, well, I'm going to just keep on doing my exercises. And he does do that. And that really puzzles. There's always soldiers watching them through a hole probably a suicide watch of watching them through a hole in the door to make sure they're probably not killing themselves before the state can kill them. At least that's how I read. Their constant surveillance by some poor dumbfounded soldier does maybe a different soldier for each one of them, but they're always being surveyed. And he strips down and he does his exercises. And I'm like, hey, my man, doing his exercises. But he decides, as he goes through and just stretches on longer and longer, that like, well, he's feeling this like pounding on his heart from below, consistent pounding. And it's just like, well, keeping my body actually in tip-top shape is just compounding that feeling of dread or horror or whatever of like, I'm going to die, even though he's not. And so he stops doing his exercises, and he stops eating, and he gets kind of more and more emaciated. Yeah, it's like I've started just reading the entire these chapters, because it just goes so much into these heads. And I mean, he has this weird kind of thing of like, almost like an out of body thing. It's like, what is this? Where am I? Who am I? And he starts examining himself, and it's like he seems like it's weird that he can walk. It's weird that he can squat. It's weird that he drinks some water, and it's strange to him that he could drink, and that he could swallow, and that he could hold the cup, that he had fingers, and those fingers were trembling. He choked, began to cough, and while coughing thought, how strange it is that I'm coughing. It's just like all this, like he becomes kind of goes to the extreme of just being completely alienated from his body. And it's like, it's like it starts like am I losing my mind as well in all this? And he goes down to this level of, it's just like time was no more. It appeared transformed into space, airless and transparent, into an enormous square upon which all were there, the earth and life and people. And he saw all that at one glance, all to the very end, to the mysterious abyss, death. And he was tortured not by the fact that death was visible, that both life and death were visible at the same time. The curtain which through eternity had hidden the mystery of life and the mystery of death was pushed aside by a sacrilegious hand, and the mysteries ceased to be mysteries, yet they remained incomprehensible, like the truth written in a foreign language. So, and all he has is the words "I am afraid" were uttered by him, only because there were no other words, because there's no other conceptions existed that could be which would grasp this new unhuman condition. And he goes through all this, and it's like, and he goes all through all this, and thus it would be with the man if, while remaining within the bounds of human reason, experience, and feeling, he were suddenly to see God himself. He would see him, but he would not understand, even though he knew that it was God, and he would tremble with inconceivable sufferings of incomprehension. And in that moment of realizing I would not even know God, I would not even be able to conceive of or understand God himself, he suddenly clicks back to his exercises, which are the Mueller exercises that started out with, "There is Mueller for you." And he suddenly goes like, "Oh, this is me. This is the physical me that I can understand and I can wrap my hand about." It's like, "Oh, Mueller, my dear Mueller. Oh, you splendid German. After all, you were right, Mueller, and I am an ass." Again, going back to his friends. And then he ends up doing his exercises again at the end. Deep breaths and exhaled and stood up on his tiptoes. That's it. That's the real way, Mueller. He embraces, okay, it's my physical body. You've given me these 18 exercises, and now there's just one more exercise to do. And it's like, that is the exercise of being hanged by the neck and motionless. It's called execution. It is a foolish exercise, Mueller, but it can't be helped. We have to do it. We have to do it, Mueller. And it's just like, he goes through all this kind of things of everything is meaningless, back to, I'm back in my body. I'm doing my exercises. There's one more exercise to do. That is what I can understand. That is the scope of my experience of this very physical man, what I can do. So, and having just done my exercises, and that being part of the thing that I structure my life on every day, doing my exercises, I can appreciate Sergei Golovin very well, even in he's about to be executed. All right, I will leave it there. More videos later.